Hello everyone, welcome to another video. In this one I want to talk about materialization and how that impacts your code and how it changes the code that is actually compiled and executed during runtime. So if we start off with a Python example, and in this example here I've chosen to actually use the built-in Bruin Python materialization. So in here I've defined the materialization type as a table, and I have chosen the strategy as append. Essentially, that means that every time that this extraction runs, it will insert new rows into the destination table. And a Python materialized asset requires this materialize function, which returns a data frame, and that data frame is what Bruin will take and insert into the destination table. However, the first time that you run this asset, the table doesn't already exist in the destination database, and Bruin will automatically create that table for you in the destination database. However, it's slightly different when it comes to SQL assets. So let's take a look at this asset here. And when we look at our materialization here, it's a table and strategy is append. And the query that we have here, it has a few CTEs and a final select. So now the question is, how does Bruin understand what to insert here and how to do it? So if we go ahead and actually open our terminal, a function called Bruin render, and in this example, I am running it for this specific asset. And if we hit enter there, we can see the rendered version of this asset. And we see that at the very top of the query, it has added insert into, and then the rest of the query is the actual query that we have here. So in our query here, there is no insert into, and Bruin will compile that, will parse that during runtime. And another easier actually way of looking at the rendered version is looking at the Bruin render panel. And in here, you can see what it's actually parsed into. So in this example, it has the insert into. And the first time that you want to run this asset, you want to actually create the table first. So there's a couple different ways that people normally do this. You can either go ahead and copy the DDL script yourself, and it has all the column descriptions and everything, and run this query yourself to manually create the table in the destination database. However, there's another and easier way of doing this as well, which is to create a full refresh run. And this will essentially, as you noticed, it changed the parsed query for us, and it begins a transaction. It drops the table if it exists, and then it creates the table with the results of our query. And this is perfect when you want to actually reset the table, or it's the first time that you want to create the table. And one last thing I will mention is that when you do the full refresh, it will recreate the table, but the metadata, so the column descriptions, the table description, these won't get pushed into the database. And that's where you can select the push metadata that will actually send this metadata into the database. I hope you learned something new. And as always, feel free to reach out to us in our Slack community. Thank you.